Once upon a time, in the heart of a bustling Yoruba village, there lived the Ogunlade family. They were known for their belief in the power of words, as they always held on strongly to the ancient adage, "The tongue has the power of life and death." But the Ogunlade family had one big challenge. Their last child and only daughter, Ireti, had a sharp tongue and skeptical mind. She often turned deaf ears to her parents' teachings and feels that she can say anything to anyone at anywhere and anytime. While her parents, Mr. and Mrs. Ogunlade, would shower their children with words of encouragement and blessings each day, Ireti would mutter under her breath, dismissing their beliefs as mere superstition. One sunny afternoon, as the family gathered for lunch, Ireti's siblings, Kola and Bayo, excitedly shared their dreams for the future. Kola, the eldest, expressed his desire to become a renowned farmer, while Bayo dreamed of becoming a skilled artisan. But when it was Ireti's turn to speak, she cynically remarked, "Dream all you want, but reality will always slap you in the face." Mr. and Mrs. Ogunlade exchanged worried glances, but they chose to ignore Ireti's negativity, hoping she would eventually come to see the power of her words. However, Ireti's loose tongue continued to cause unrest within the household. On one occasion, Ireti mocked a neighbor's failed business venture, declaring that they were destined for poverty. To her surprise, the neighbor's fortunes took a turn for the better shortly after, leaving Ireti dumbfounded but unrepentant. Another time, during a heated argument with Ayodele, her brother, Ireti lashed out, hurling insults that cut deep. Though Ayodele forgave her, the hurtful words she said lingered in the air, straining their relationship. Then one fateful market day, Ireti made her way through the crowded marketplace. A young girl with a pronounced hunchback accidentally bumped into her and fell on the wet ground. Without a second thought, Ireti muttered, "Watch where you are going, you clumsy oaf." "I'm sorry, it's an accident," the girl said, still on the ground, trying to stand up. But Ireti's temper fled. "Sorry for yourself, accident or not. You should learn to watch your steps, you hunchback animal." Tears started welling up in the girl's eyes. She apologized again. "I'm really sorry, ma'am. I didn't mean to bump into you." The girl stood facing Ireti while trying to clean off her body. "But you don't have to say those." Without letting her finish, Ireti snapped back. "I will say more to you. I can see that you are nothing but a nuisance, including the woman who gave birth to an imbecile like you." She sighed and walked away. The girl started crying profusely as she walked home. Ireti's words had hit her deep down, reminding her memories of her late mother, who had died a few years back while trying to rescue her from a fire outbreak. Her mother didn't make it, and the incident had left her with the hunchback. Some villagers around who saw what just happened gasped at Ireti's hurtful words to the girl, but Ireti paid them no mind. Unknowingly to Ireti, the girl she had just insulted is the daughter of a powerful native doctor known for his vengeful nature. The young girl got home and narrated everything to her father. Enraged by Ireti's callous words, he placed a curse upon Ireti, declaring that she would bear the same hunchback as his daughter. Ireti, unconcerned about the consequences of her actions, returned home that evening without knowing what would befall her. That night, as she slept, she felt a creeping sensation of discomfort around her spine, but she thought it was just a mere back pain. But as days passed, the sensation of discomfort in her spine grew more intense and excruciating, making it difficult for her to even sleep well. Then one morning, as Ireti woke up to ease herself, her brother Ayodele screamed out loud, "What is that you're carrying on your back, Ireti?" A scream startled her. She touched her back, rushed to the mirror, and was horrified to discover a deformity around her back, similar like that of the girl she had insulted few days ago. Panic-stricken, she sought solace in her parents' arms, but their words of comfort could not undo the damage that had been done. Ireti struggled to come to terms with her newfound affliction. Whispers of her misfortunes spread like wildfire throughout the village. People shook their heads in pity, attributing her condition to the wrath of the native doctor's curse. Desperate for a solution, Mr. and Mrs. Ogunlade sought counsel from the village elders, hoping to find a way to reverse the curse and restore their daughter's health. But despite their best efforts, the elders could offer no remedy, cautioning that the consequences of Ireti's words were beyond their control. Determined to find a solution, Ireti embarked on a journey of self-discovery, seeking guidance from wise sages and spiritual healers in distant lands. But no one was able to help her. She started learning to control her tongue. The hunchback became a serious worry for Ireti and her parents, as she is in her late 20s without a husband or lover, though she has genuinely changed from talking loosely. But the men in the village always ignore her because of the hunchback. One day, as was her practice, she went alone to the stream to fetch water. She sat by the side of the stream watching a couple who were washing clothes, chatting and joyfully playing with the water in the stream. Ireti put her hands on her chin, wondered if she could ever have someone who could love her for who she is now, without considering her hunchback. After a few minutes lost in self-thought, Ireti picked up her water pot and placed it in the wheelbarrow, pushing it gently as she headed home. On her way, she started hearing a footstep coming behind her. She turned round and saw it was a man. Sorry if I startled you," the man said. Then, with a warm smile, he continued, "My name is Ayomide. I've always watched you each time you come to fetch water from the stream. I like you, and I want you to be my wife." Ireti was shocked. She cleaned her ears as a sign that maybe she didn't hear correctly. Then she asked him again, "Please, what did you just say?" Ayomide repeated himself. "I said, I like you very much, and I want you to be my wife." Ireti couldn't believe her ears, but she managed to conceal her joy. "Let us go and see my parents about it," was all she could say. Ayomide accompanied her home, and he met Mr. and Mrs. Ogunlade. He greeted them warmly, and they gave him audience. "What brings you here, young man?" Mr. Ogunlade asked. Ayomide responded, "I have seen your daughter a number of times without her knowing it. I have watched her behavior fairly closely. I do not believe she has any hunch in her heart, so I want to marry her." Mr. Ogunlade asked Ayomide a series of questions to the extent that Mrs. Ogunlade had to interrupt. She pulled her husband to the side of the house and whispered to him in low tone, "Please, my husband, since the young man has clearly said he wants to marry Ireti, let's not scare him away with so many interrogations and questions. You know our daughter is not getting any younger, and this is the only man that has come for her hand in marriage despite her hunchback." Mr. Ogunlade nodded, affirming his wife's words. Then they went back to sit with Ayomide. After getting one more confirmation from Ayomide, Mr. and Mrs. Ogunlade gave the proposal their blessing, and the marriage was performed according to the law and custom of the land. Shortly after the wedding, Ayomide took Ireti to a powerful medicine man who succeeded in removing the hunch after performing series of sacrifices and incantations. In private, the medicine man told Ayomide that he should not allow his wife Ireti to carry a heavy load on her head, for if she does, he warned, her hunchback will return. Ayomide knew very well that all women in the village liked to carry heavy loads on their heads. His wife Ireti was no exception. He also thought Ireti would never believe it's possible for the hunchback to develop again. He decided not to tell her exactly what the native doctor had said. Instead, He told her that his personal herbalist had warned him that should his wife ever put a heavy load on her head, he would die. If you don't want me to die, my dear wife Ireti, you should never carry a heavy load on your head. How on earth can I want you to die? You have saved me from deformity and disgrace, Ireti said, and she swore that she would never carry a heavy load on her head. Ireti's parents were so overjoyed when they learned about what Ayomide had done for Ireti that they regarded him not only as a son-in-law but also their second god. A short time later, Ayomide's cocoa business started yielding little sales, and gradually he suddenly became poor. He could maintain his wife only a little above subsistence level. Meat became a luxury and was only bought on special feast days. Ayomide did not have enough money to buy his wife Ireti new clothes either. She had to wear her old clothes. Ireti started grumbling and complaining to her parents and to the public. How am I going to cope? I don't know how long I can bear this. Her parents, Mr. and Mrs. Ogunlade, rebuked her for her unreasonableness. Even if your husband does not feed you well, you have cause to be grateful and faithful to him until you die, they said. This is just a little challenge. It will surely pass. Ireti didn't listen to her parents' advice. Then one day, two of her friends, Funke and Sheun, came to visit her. Funke said to her, Ireti, this wretch of a man you call your husband should realize that you are a beautiful woman, no? Like, you are not a slave that he should starve like this. But Sheun, her second friend, rebuked her. Don't say that, Funke. Every marriage has trying times, which will surely fade away with time and patience. I'm sure Ireti's husband will soon bounce back soon enough. But Funke continued, why should Ireti continue to live with such a man? I can't imagine a beautiful woman like her struggling to eat a good meal, not to talk of wearing good clothes. I'm sure that soon you'll clearly see that Ireti will lose weight and all her beauty will fade away. Ireti sat there, listening and watching her friends. But the words from Funke got deep to her. As soon as they left, Ireti started thinking about all what Funke has said. Ayomide wasn't happy that things had turned out the way it is, but Ireti, on the other hand, wasn't helping matters. She tried to pretend to understand and console her husband, but her facial expressions was clearly saying the opposite. Then, some rich men in the town started competing who would win Ireti over. This made Ireti to openly display some disgusting attitude towards her husband, Ayomide. Secretly, some of the rich young men started sending her gifts and invited her to dinner. Ireti felt highly flattered, and in turn, her attitude towards her husband became increasingly disgusting. But Ayomide continued to plead with her to bear with him. Ireti got carried away with the gifts and attention she's getting from other men. Few days later, she decided to kill her husband Ayomide when she remembered the warning against carrying a heavy load. Wickedly thrilled by the idea that if she carried a heavy load, her husband would die, and so she'll have a chance to be with one of these rich young men that has been asking her out, Ireti rushed into a nearby bush and gathered a great deal of firewood, which she tied into a mighty bundle and placed on her head. While walking from the bush to her house, she developed a hunchback, much bigger and worse than the one she previously had. At home, she threw the firewood, sat on the bare floor, and wept bitterly. Neighbors came, saw and spat, and retired to their homes. The rich young men heard what had happened to Ireti, and one of them loudly said, there must be a devil dwelling inside her. When her husband Ayomide returned from the farm and saw her, he said, you have destroyed yourself in a bid to destroy me. And he gave a deep sigh of disappointment. Ayomide took Ireti to her parents and told them he would no longer have her for a wife. Ireti's mother, Mrs. Ogunlade, wept and pleaded with him, but to no avail. She faced Ireti and said, Ireti, but I warned you. You wouldn't listen. You have forgotten so quickly how your husband has helped you. This is so sad. Just then, her father, Mr. Ogunlade, approached Ayomide and thanked him for his love and help and told him to go home in peace. Since Ireti has allowed this predicament on herself a second time, I guess she should bear the full consequences of her actions. What do you think about this story? Leave your comments below. Thanks for watching.